So, Unit 3.1, we're starting a brand new unit. Today we're doing 3.1, adding and subtracting polynomials. That's what we're doing for I'm going to explain it to you.
Wow. I want to know.
So, what the heck is a polynomial?
It's a polynomial.
What does poly mean?
A shape.
3, 2.
Little bit of English.
Many.
What does poly mean?
Many.
Many. Nomials are different terms. So nomial like number. Okay, so I have a couple definitions that we need to get through first. Okay, a polynomial is an expression made with constants, variables, and exponents. So we have all these different things that can be in a polynomial: constants, variables, and exponents, which can be combined using addition, subtraction, or multiplication, not division. Okay, so polynomial does not have division in it. We can divide polynomials, but a polynomial does not have division in it. Okay, so we have a polynomial. That's just a general term, but we have 3 different kinds of special polynomials that have their own terms. First, we have a monomial. What does mono mean? One. So what do you think a monomial is? It's a polynomial that only has one term. So what's an example of this? One term would be considered something like this: 24x to the 7th. There's just one term. It's all lumped together. Okay, so even if you have like x, y, there's 2 different variables in there, it's still considered one term. It's still a monomial. So things that are connected by multiplication are all one term. Okay, what do you think it's called when we have 2 terms? A binomial. Brandon gets a high five. Binomial means 2 terms. Now, a binomial, we have 2 terms. For example, 3x is one term, and 5 is one term, and they're being added or subtracted together. So there's 2 terms here. Okay, so plain numbers can also be part of terms of a polynomial. Okay, so binomial has 2 terms. What about, you saw it.
Yeah.
What about when we have 3 terms? Trinomial. Okay, which means we have 3 terms being added or subtracted. So an example of a trinomial: x squared plus 5x minus 14. There's 1, 2, 3 terms here. So we have these 3 special polynomials: monomial, binomial, and trinomial. They all have their own names. Everything else is just called a polynomial. So if it has 4 or more terms, we just call it a polynomial. There's no special name for it. Okay? So today our objective is to add and subtract polynomials. Okay, so now that we know what all of these polynomials are and what they're called, we need the steps to adding and subtracting them. Okay, so there's 2 different ways that we can add polynomials, and I'll show you both ways. I have a preferred method that I want you to use, because once you go into Algebra 2, you're only going to use the preferred method. So it's good to practice it. So when we're adding polynomials, that means we have 2 sets of parentheses of a bunch of different stuff. Okay? Hold on a second. Really quick. We have 2 sets of parentheses of a bunch of different stuff. So what we're going to do is, when we're adding, we have to distribute the plus into the parentheses. Okay? Which is like multiplying by a positive what? 1. Does that change the signs of anything? No. Then we're going to combine like terms. And then what we want to do is we want to arrange the terms in order from biggest to smallest. Okay? So really, when we're adding and subtracting polynomials, all we're doing is combining like terms. So you guys are going to love this stuff. Our steps to subtracting are the same, except we distribute the negative. So get those written down. Yeah. Okay, so when we're subtracting polynomials, You're going to distribute the negative into the parentheses, which is the same as multiplying by a negative what? Negative 1. And when we multiply by a negative 1, all of the signs are going to change. So, example 1.
The children kids really like them.
Okay, oops. Come on. Okay, so example 1. This is what I mean by adding polynomials. Okay, so example 1. Guys. Okay, here's our... Okay. 9x squared plus 3x minus 6 plus 4x squared minus 14x minus 1. Let's look at this. How many polynomials am I adding?
2.
2. The first polynomial is this guy. Remember, polynomial means multiple terms. And there's 3 terms here. If this one has 3 terms, what kind of polynomial is it?
A trinomial.
Good, a trinomial. Here's our second polynomial, 4x squared minus 14x minus 1.
So we're looking at the power.
So let's go through these. We're adding the 2 polynomials. Okay, so what was my first step in adding polynomials? Look at your notes. What's the first step?
Distribute them into the parentheses.
Distribute the plus into the parentheses. This is really the same as positive what? 1, right? There's an invisible 1. So let's distribute that into the parentheses. Okay, distributive property. Alright? So first we're going to rewrite the first polynomial, but we're going to take down the parentheses now. So we have 9x squared plus 3x minus 6. So that has not changed at all. Okay, what about the second one? If I am multiplying everything by positive 1, what's 4x squared times positive 1?
4x squared.
Good, 4x squared, so plus 4x squared. Negative 14x times 1?
Negative 14.
Negative 14x. And negative 1 times 1?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. So when we're multiplying by a positive, does anything change?
No.
No. So when we're adding, nothing changes here. Okay, now Brandon asked earlier if we're going to be solving. Is there an equal sign in this problem?
No.
No, so can we solve?
No.
No, so what are we going to be doing?
Simplify.
Simplify. So let's simplify. When I'm simplifying, that's going to be combining
Like terms.
like terms. So let's find our like terms. I have a 9x squared. What's a like term to 9x squared?
4x squared.
4x squared. Good. Now, is this 4x squared a positive or a negative? It's a positive. So I'm going to rewrite it and put my like terms next to each other. This is called grouping the like terms. Okay, so we would have 9x squared plus 4x squared. Okay, so my x squareds are next to each other. I also have plus 3x. What's a like term to positive 3x?
Negative 14x.
Good, negative 14x. So we're going to have plus 3x minus 14x. Okay, I also have a minus 6. Is that 6 positive or negative? Negative. And what's a like term to negative 6?
Negative 1.
Exactly, negative 1. So it's going to be minus 6 minus 1. Is everybody okay with this so far?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So is this a simplified version? Are we done? No, let's combine these like terms. 9x squared plus 4x squared. 13x squared. 3x minus 14x. Negative 11x. And negative 6 minus 1. Negative 7. Okay, did I combine like terms as much as possible? Yes. So our last step was to put these in order from biggest to smallest. And by that they mean looking at the exponents. What's my biggest exponent here?
13x.
The x squareds, right? It does not matter. I don't mean biggest to smallest by the number in front. I mean the exponents. Okay, so out of my exponents, x squared is the biggest, right? So that comes first. Then x comes after that. Then your constant. Okay, so we're done. This would be our answer.
Oh, I thought it was smallest to biggest.
Biggest to smallest.
Okay. That's a
Okay, so example 2, we have two different polynomials here also.